please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. We'll get started. Dave, do you have any questions on attendance?
Nope.
Does anyone have any additions, corrections to the board agenda?
I had
Brian, do
two
you?
small corrections under substitute teacher pay. I had the wrong date or year at the bottom, what we were comparing it to. And then I had the incomplete statute for the superintendent evaluation. So I updated the statute there. But those are the only two updates I had.
All right, so we have an agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is open forum. Rules for open forum. 3 minutes per speaker. Open forum shall not take more than a total of 15 minutes. No complaints about individual staff members, about students, or about other persons are permitted. All presenters will conduct their business in a manner that meets community standards for decorum. The board will not take action on items presented in open forum. Brian, did anybody sign up? Does anybody wish to speak during open forum? Next up is the consent agenda. Does anybody want anything pulled from the consent agenda and placed later in the agenda for discussion? If not, I am looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move that.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is bills. If you have any questions on the bills, please state the page number and the bill number that you have a question on. Does anybody have a specific question on the bills?
I did. I just had a quick one about page 4, line 2, Halo Transportation. What is?
That is a contract we have for one of our students that requires some extra support
Okay.
that our vehicles could not offer.
Okay. What about page 10, the script?
That is reimbursement for the year of meals that we paid that our employees would have eaten going to a SCRED training. So that's budgeted for, but it's when our staff go to SCRED for a training and they get fed. This is our portion of that for the last year.
Throughout the school year.
Correct.
Thank you. I did notice on there some reimbursement with the solar panels. How are they doing? Are they better? Wasn't there a problem last year?
We had a claim. We're still in the middle of the claim. The company back in January said we were having issues. Our insurance then got involved and doesn't think there are issues. So our insurance is kind of fighting with Ideal Energies, the company. It's not resolved yet. There's another meeting next week. Not that there's a problem. They just think there's damage. Our inspectors from our insurance doesn't think there's damage. So it's not resolved, but we are getting the rebates. They appear to be working by EMC's investigators or adjusters, but Ideal Energies people are saying there's been damage from that heavy snow 2 years ago, but that's still, inspection is set for the last week of July.
Is that kind of like the average rebates, what we're seeing? And then there's also the DNR remodeling. How's that going?
The first garage door is in and replaced, the one that we were gonna widen, that they can drive through. The other one, we have the 3 quotes. We're just waiting for the company to get back to Keith to update the big, large garage door, which is on the east side of the building. So that should be done in the next month. And the other things that we said we'd fix, Keith and his staff were able to do himself with some indoor stuff, some caulking of the outside fixtures, some clearing of brush. That is in progress. It is happening.
Thanks.
If there are no other questions, I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion.
Is there,
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the superintendent's report.
Mine is short this month. Like always in July, I update you on concurrent enrollment, how the last year went compared to the previous years. Our high school students had access to 22 college classes, 58 students, and you can see the breakdown of what grade level. Took at least one class with a total of 504 credits that were completed. We plan to work next year with Pine Tech, the University of Minnesota, Lake Superior College to offer these. And Mr. Lattimore and Ms. Hartle told me we were going to be adding College World History back into the schedule. So impressive every year how many college credits our students are able to take through not only our classes that we offer in-house, but also through our partnering colleges in the community as well. And the other one I wanted to talk on, you can see our district attendance for the past year did go up a little bit again, 91.9, that's district-wide, all buildings. Elementary was higher than the high school, but still happy to see that the average for our district continues to rise back to what it was. We want to see 90% at least. I would ideally like to see it get back into the mid-90s. As even coming to school 9/10 of the time is still missing quite a bit of the school year, 18 days or so. So we'll continue to work on attendance, but I'm happy to report that it went up again. So any questions on anything in my report for this month?
Do you ever compare our attendance with neighboring school districts like East Central, Pine City, or Morrow?
No, but I can do that.
I'd be curious. I will work on getting that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Brian. Next up is communications.
I did not have any.
No communications. Next up is budget calendar, unfinished business.
We are in the process of ordering many of the materials. One thing that we were able to accomplish at the end of June, as the board knows, we received the deed grant from Pine County to help with daycare expenses. We had about 10 business days, 15 days to get $97,000 spent for daycare equipment. We did do that. We have been reimbursed already. So, but now my office is on, specifically Jill is on to ordering all the materials for teachers and checking those things in, and we're beginning to monitor enrollment. There hasn't been a lot of changes over the summer, but that will start to pick up as we near August, but things are going well as the first fiscal month of the year.
Great, we'll move on to JAG Pride. Does anybody have anything else to add to JAG Pride for the month? Right, next up is meeting details.
Proposing to keep our board meetings the second Monday of the month, starting at 7 p.m., alternating between Hinckley and Finlayson, and then recommending the following two links. The board reports and education schedule is the same. Reports that we've had at least in my 3 years, who will come what month to speak to the board. And the second link are the policies that we need to review. The first few months are mostly the ones the state are requiring or ones that we don't have. So you'll see July, August, September, there's quite a bit of policies we'll go through, but then once we get through October's approval, they'll start to wean down to 2 or 3 a month. But recommending that approval of our monthly meeting time and then the schedule for who comes to talk to the board, as well as our policy review cycle.
Does anybody have any question regarding the board report schedule or board policy review cycle? If not, I'm looking for a motion to accept both.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is committees.
We could certainly leave our committees as they are. This is the month we typically change them unless it's coming right off of an election, which would be this upcoming January. We'll look at them again, but we can certainly leave these committees the same. or leave it up to the board to decide if there's any changes that need to be made.
Does anybody wish to go off of a committee? All right, then I'm looking for a motion to accept the board committees as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is our fees.
I've got a lot in this category, so please stop me if you have questions. Recommending that, I believe all in this category to stay the same. Instrumental rental, recommend keep it at $50. The local average you can see of the 6 schools who reported was 48. Recommending keep our driver's ed behind the wheel at $260. We raised that about a year ago, and recommend continuing the hourly rate of $30 for the instructor. Athletic participation, I should back up on behind the wheel. Only 2 schools responded to the survey. Not a lot have, especially when I'm comparing, it's Region 5, which goes all the way to St. Cloud. As you get that way, they have a lot more community behind the wheel opportunities, so not as many of those schools do that in-house. Athletic participation, recommend to keep at $55. The local average is $100, but I think for our community, it's been nice to keep costs down. For our non-sports activities fees, recommend keeping that at $35. We did raise that 2 school years ago. The local average for those is $62, but again, I think keeping the cost down and providing more opportunities for kids to get involved is a good thing. The non-sports activities that counts for would be 1-act play, FCCLA, Knowledge Bowl, fall play, FFA, robotics if we had FFA, robotics, and our non-athletic type events. Recommending keeping the combined athletic and activity at $130 max for an individual. The local average for that's $199. No changes recommended to hockey co-op sports. When the board raised a couple of years ago that we would cover up to $2,500, we have not seen bills from any of our co-op sports, so recommending keeping that the same. Admission to events, recommend to keep that the same, $6 for adults, $3 for students, $45 for an adult pass, $25 for student pass, free for senior citizens, and free for school board members and admin with a guest, and then of course free for all of our staff. And I believe the last one in this category, recommend keeping the iPad laptop rental fee at $30. Local average was about $39. And then the family max, in case they have many kids in the district, keeping that at $100. What that does is helps cover accidental damage that does happen. But that was a lot, so I can certainly go back and talk about any of them, or are there any questions on all those fees?
So with the iPad fee, it says struggle sometimes to get those. Is there any thoughts or anything on how to collect those fees?
What we do it better at the elementary school is we don't let the devices go home. At the high school, it's becoming harder to do because so much of the curriculum is on the computers. We could certainly do better at enforcing that for the kids who don't pay for that. It becomes a little bit of a hard time of making sure that last class teacher gets it. Keeping that list up to date so everyone knows who needs to turn in an iPad, getting it charged, and then to the first hour class. But I think we need to hold to that, because if one student and family are forced to pay, we need to be consistent with that. And we do have funds available in the district to help with financial difficulties. So I think we just need to do a better job of enforcing that and not letting the computers go home. And if there is a hardship, they can fill out those free and reduced forms or seek out ways for the district to help. Elementary, it's much easier to just keep the devices at home. At school, I'm sorry. High school, like I said, it gets harder just because the curriculum is so much on the computer. I do wonder if this will be something that will need to go away. where we won't be able to charge or shouldn't be charging if the computer is a requirement, should it just be provided. So that is something that we may need to consider as well.
Athletic participation is per sport, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any more questions regarding the fees? If not, I'm looking for a motion to accept the fees.
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is mileage rate.
Recommend that the district continue to follow the IRS rate, which is now 70 cents per mile for reimbursement. So recommending following the IRS guidelines for that.
Does anybody have any questions? And I'm looking for a motion to accept the IRS mileage rate.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is substitute teacher pay.
Recommending starting our substitute pay at $155 a day, but moving to the $170 after someone subs 10 times. Recommend also starting retired teachers from the district at $170 and moving them to $180. You can see the local average does start at $160, so we are a little behind that, but we do catch up after the 10 days and go ahead of that. And we also, I would recommend continuing to pay the background check if they sub 10 or more times. So we may start a little lower, but we do catch up, and we also provide some other incentives. And this would be the same thing we had in place this last school year. So recommending continuing with what we had paid for substitutes.
There's a motion to accept the substitute teacher pay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up are meal recommendations.
As we know, the state is going to continue to provide one free breakfast and one free lunch for students. I'm recommending keeping the milk cost at 50 cents for an extra carton or for a cold lunch. I think the law changed where they can now get a milk with their cold lunch. But if someone wanted to purchase an extra milk, continuing that at 50 cents. The other part, we don't have if the state is going to change the adult lunch or breakfast prices. So I'm recommending the same we had the last year. This may need to come back in August if we get state minimum mandates come out before then. But as of now, I would recommend continuing the adult breakfast at $3, adult lunch at $5, and then like I said, the milk that would be extra at 50 cents. And if that changes by the August board meeting, I will bring that back.
Does anybody have any questions regarding the meal recommendations?
Now any milk is paid for?
I believe so. I believe so. I'll double check that, but I believe that is true.
What did we pay for current milk? Probably don't know. Is there?
I can find out and let you know. I don't remember. I don't even want to take a guess.
No, the state is reimbursing, but they weren't fully reimbursing, right?
No.
Okay, do we, any clue what?
We're doing
will be
some,
this upcoming year?
we're doing some different things with our vendors that we're ordering from, which one of the things we'll get to at the end of this agenda. We reduced staffing a little bit to help with that, at least the hours they work. We're gonna do, and Sarah already knows this, we're gonna do a much better job of going through Sarah, Bridget, and Brian before things are ordered. You know, obviously loss happens, things like that, unexpected things happen, but we're not gonna just, I'm not saying we were, but we're just gonna have some more sets of eyes on it to make sure, was that budgeted for, is that needed? We're just gonna move away from more of the paper product where we have trays and metal silverware and things like that. Let's use it, let's not use baskets or things like that. So we're gonna hope to reduce costs that way.
So I'm looking for a motion to accept the meal recommendation.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is employee board meal reimbursement.
I am recommending a change here. The last time these were raised, you can see in the 2010-11 school year. I'm recommending that the breakfast reimbursement moves from $9 to $10, lunch from $12 to $15, and dinner from $17 to $20. This would be when we go to conferences and say the hotel doesn't provide a breakfast, things like that, to cover the meal costs for when staff or board members are out of the district attending trainings.
Does anybody have any questions? And I'm looking for a motion to accept the employee board member meal reimbursement.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is school board compensation.
I'm not recommending any changes. You can see when compared to 21 schools responded this, their average pay is $558, but I will put in that 3 schools pay their board members annually, and it's those 3 schools start at least $3,200. So if you take those 3 schools out, the average meeting pay is then 70, which our average meeting pay is 60. We did raise special meeting rate back in the 10-11 school year. Officer pay last was increased 13-14, and the chair pay was raised in 22-23. But I'm recommending things stay the same and looking for approval on that.
Can I ask, when was the last time regular meeting pay was increased?
I don't know that. Not that I have found records on.
And in light of the fact that of the 21 school districts polled, excluding the 3 that paid $3,200 annually or more, you say that the average would be 70, we're at 60, and you don't know how long it's been since there's last been a pay increase for board members. Why do you feel comfortable making the recommendation not to increase board member pay for a regular meeting?
I have not heard from any of you that there's been an issue. I know we did talk about it last year at this time for a little while at the board meeting, but I have not had anyone ask to make that change.
So your recommendation is based on whether a board member approaches you about increasing it, the board pay?
That is one of the factors. And then it's also running by comparables.
Well, the comparable here says the average is 70, excluding the top 3. We're at 60. I'm just curious how you come up with your decision.
It just answered based on comparables, and then I didn't change it because I hadn't heard any concerns about it.
To me, the comparable says it should be increased at least 70. That's the average.
You can make that motion, Toby.
Is there any benefit to having a little bit higher school board pay for regular meetings? Or in your mind, there's no benefit, or it's just kind of a voluntary position?
I don't want to speak for the board. I've always heard that people run for our board to give back to the community, that it was not about the pay, but certainly we could increase it. I don't see any harm in doing so if that's what the board wants to do.
I'll make a motion. Oh,
Go ahead.
Oh. I was just gonna make a motion to leave it as is.
No, I was just gonna say, for me personally, I'm okay leaving it as it is in light of budget cuts and everything. I wouldn't feel personally right asking for more money, but that's just, so I would second your motion.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if anybody had any other comments, but go ahead, Toby.
I was just gonna say, my thought is this. The main thing I'm looking at with the school board compensation is to attract people to maybe consider putting their name in the hat for the school board election to run as a school board member. And it is a commitment, it's a time commitment, it's an emotional commitment. And some people may miss a day of work or part of their few hours of their job. And I think in light of the fact that there are very important decisions made to run a school district as part of the school board, I think we need to take a look at maybe increasing it, not from the standpoint that you're gonna, take your family on a vacation to Hawaii on your salary, but at least compensate people for their time. I mean, no one's gonna get rich being a school board member, but we're just looking at compensating for their time and the importance of the position. And sometimes it's an emotional commitment. Like in years past, we had a special meeting in the gymnasium. It was, it's. And you don't know when the last time we had the pay raise at $60. I have a recollection that either you or the previous superintendent may have mentioned early 20-teens.
I don't know. I think it's been 60 since I've been here, to be honest, but I can go, I can find out.
So, what was the year the special meetings were increased per meeting?
2010-11.
Okay, so I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say that's probably when the regular meetings were also adjusted. I'm just going out on a limb. I might not be correct in that statement, but there's been over 40% inflation just taking a look at a website that says what's the value of a dollar from, I thought it was 2012. I used 2012, that's 40%. 40% on 60 is 84 bucks. I mean, that's just accounting for inflation, the basement of our currency. But whether it's 84, 70, or leave it at 60, maybe it's not going to make a difference, but for some people it might make a difference, and it might help them decide to run for school board because their time is worth something. That's how I look at it. And financially, if we raise it to 70, would it impact our budget? Put tremendous stress on our budget?
Not tremendous stress, no. Not stress, really.
Personally, I don't want somebody on the board that is doing it for the money. If $10 is gonna make or break the board, then you're not on the board for the right reason, in my, that's just my opinion.
I don't think 70 bucks is doing it for the money. I don't think 80 bucks is doing it for the money.
But I'm just saying that that's why I feel leaving it at 60 is fine, because yeah, in my opinion.
Sure.
So there's a motion and there's a second. Do you want to make a motion also, Toby?
Do we have to vote
I think
on
you have to vote on
motion
that.
that's on the floor?
Yes. All right. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
So we'll do roll call, Dave.
Yes.
Leo? Janelle?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah.
Toby?
No.
Angela?
Yes.
Jody? Motion passes 6-1. Excuse me. Next up is the official newspaper.
Recommend that we continue to use the North Pine County News for our official newspaper. Their rate will be very similar, but we had budgeted for $5,000, which is a little bit more than last year because we'll have to run on top of board minutes, election things. So looking for approval to continue with North Pine County News.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Now, Brian, we can't legally use the Evergreen, right?
If you have a newspaper in your district/town, you need to use that.
Okay. And some schools are used a condensed version.
Of minutes.
Yes. Is that the right thing to do or not? Save
Not-
money, but
That's not what I've read. I get it would save money, but putting out the full being transparent,
I think
Just gonna say
Pine
that.
City does, don't they?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I also agree. I don't think it's being transparent,
Yeah,
even though
right.
we have the YouTube.
Yeah. That's negative about going to condensed, I think.
Is there a motion to approve the official newspaper?
I need a motion, Heather, second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Struggling. Next up are our policy first reads.
The first three on here are just language or statute changes. So first read for those first three. The bottom four will be new policies for us. Especially the bottom two are new because of the last legislative session. 515, they just finally made a policy off it. 516 and 802 are coming from the last legislative session. But looking for just any questions that you have on those, as we'll approve them in August. But like I said earlier, we'll have quite a few policies to go through here the first part of the school year to get through all the state changes. But we will have all required policies after we approve this round next month.
515 is a.
We've always approved it as a consent agenda thing where we're gonna protect privacy of pupil records, but now MSBA has come out with an actual policy on it. So we've always done that, we've always followed this, but now there's a mandated policy to go with it.
This is original 1995, but that's MSBA's original, so
They came out when they sent out their policy newslink letter at the end of June saying this will be a new policy coming this year.
okay.
But we have always typically approved protection and privacy of pupil records in July, just now we'll have it in written policy, yeah.
So with the drug, alcohol, and cannabis testing, with the legalization of cannabis, is there going to be training for staff?
To deal with,
Well, just to be able to recognize,
we have not had that, or we have not had that for a while. We have brought in Pine County Sheriff's Office to help with that in the past. Maybe time to do that again. We can work on that as we head into the next school year. Maybe they can come in and present something quick during the workshop week.
yeah.
All right, we will move on to the election calendar update.
We will have 4 seats that will open. Filing period starts July 29th and then closes on August 12th. This notice of filing has gone to the newspaper. It should start showing up in this week's paper. It will also be sent out on Remind and put on Facebook tomorrow, and then we'll do it regularly up through the week before August 12th. But just letting you know that we're hitting those timelines, that we will have 4 open seats. And the filing period is between the 29th of July and August 12th, and people can file here in the district office.
Can we put it on the board out front too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions regarding the election calendar update? If not, then I'm moving on to the Upper Lakes food agreement.
This is one of the ways we're hoping to help with costs in food service. Pine City has asked if we'd be willing or would like to join with them in Upper Lakes food agreement. The benefit, well, we would still do our own ordering and our own purchasing. What the benefit could give us is by the 2 schools ordering together, when there's bulk or common items, we may save a little bit on cost with that, but we could also for sure save on cost when they deliver. Instead of having to set 2 different delivery, they're coming to the same general area, so we may be able to save cost on that. This would be only a one-year agreement. We don't want to work with Pine City forever on this, but since they were already in the agreement, they asked if we could join. We would create our own agreement with Upper Lakes Food a year from now, but we would like to try it with Pine City to see if it does save us some costs. The last benefit is Pine City will do the bidding, where we don't have to do the bidding. They will do the bidding. We'll get to see that, but it will cover both school districts. So recommending to go forward with this, Sarah Severson and Julie Nelson, who have done the most research on this, do recommend going forward with this.
Has Pine City previously used Upper Lakes Foods?
Yes.
And they had good experience?
Yep. We've used Upper Lakes Food too, just we're joining this together to hopefully save some costs.
Sure.
If there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is long-term disability life insurance.
Recommending continue with our coverage for life insurance and long-term disability. You can see the increase that we were quoted for life insurance on a $50,000 policy. It did go up, but we still feel that is a good recommendation. The other ones went higher than that. And then the group long-term disability coverage, there was no rate change. So looking to continue with our plan for life insurance and group long-term disability.
Is there a motion?
I'll move that.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up is the superintendent evaluation. I'm recommending to close the school board meeting according to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, Sub 3A, to discuss employee evaluation, superintendent annual review. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in